Hello and welcome to another What Sold video. This is everything that sold for me for the first week of June, so June 1st to June 7th. And we're gonna actually start with Etsy because I had an Etsy sale. I've talked about how I am trying to cross-post more because I've been wanting to focus more on Etsy because out of all the other selling platforms I have stuff listed on, Etsy's been the one that's been performing this year so far. So I'm gonna scoot over here. And the Etsy sale I have to share with you is this vintage 90s Career Club golf polo. Based on when this sells, since it's the first week of June, I'm guessing this might have been somebody's Father's Day gift. Not 100% sure. But it did sell for $19.87 and then the buyer paid for shipping. So this is amazing. Mostly because I've had this for like 2 years. So the fact that it sold is awesome. And the reason it sold, and actually pretty much all of my Etsy sales that I've made so far in 2024 have all been thanks to me using Vendoo. A year ago, I started using Vendoo for free because they do give you 5 listings for free every month, and I've been using it for the last year. So I wanted to make sure that I really liked the service before I decided to upgrade the service to a paid service. And I'm happy to say that I do, and actually Vendoo is sponsoring this part of the video. The reason why I actually started using Vendoo a year ago is because they announced that they were doing the auto delist feature. So when they originally started doing that, it was only for eBay and Poshmark, which were my 2 main platforms at the time anyway. So I thought that was great. So that way I don't double sell stuff, because that is always, as someone who cross posts, like a nightmare. And has actually saved my butt several times. But I've also expanded the delist feature. So now the auto delist, if you sell on eBay, Poshmark, Mercari, Depop, and whatnot, which is insane that they have all 5. And only that, Vendoo has an app, which is awesome because I don't live here half of the week. I've talked about before how I spend half my week here at my house and then half the week at the boys' house. And I don't really always have access to a computer at the boys' house or when I'm going in between places. And I really love the fact that not only will Vendoo auto delist something, but I can go into the app and input all the sales information and make sure it's delisted everywhere else. So like I said, I've been using Vendoo for over a year. I've been testing it out and I have just recently upgraded. So I have been absolutely loving the service and I'm looking so forward to see what Vendoo can do for me in my business. So if you would like to give Vendoo a try, I will put a link in the description down below and also in a pinned comment. You can try it for free. You get 5 listings every month for free. And if you want to go ahead and jump into one of their paid tiers, because you know, more is more, you can get 25% off using my link down below. But thank you so much to Vendoo for sponsoring this part of the video. And now we're gonna go over to eBay because eBay is my main bay and Miss Moxie is down here catting it up. I don't know why she's not looking you guys in the eye. I'm guessing she's really, you're not gonna look them in the eye, but you're gonna show them your butt. You can see where her priorities lie. The first item I'd share with you is a tie, because you know, I love ties. And this is a vintage dead stock Kenneth Gordon wool duck tie. This came in that big lot that I talked about where I bought a bunch of ties for $1.50 each. This was in that lot. And it sold for $12 and the buyer paid for shipping. This is a pair of brand new 7 jeans. These are the Easy Boyfriend raw hem. I actually think I paid like $5 for these at a thrift store. And they sold for $11, so not a whole lot of profit, but it still doubled my money and I'm just glad to get an older listing out the door. However, this was a super fast listing and I knew that when I picked it up. I actually found this at the bins. This is a role-playing one-shot. And this is specifically for teaching kids about kindness and kind of like getting people into D&D that aren't necessarily into it. And this has over 100% sell through on eBay. So I knew as soon as I listed it, I would sell it as long as I listed it for what everything else was selling for. And it did. It sold the day I listed it for a full asking price of $24.87. This is a J. Crew piece. I can spot a Liberty fabric from a mile away thanks to my friend Victoria introducing this to me. She also introduced me to Vendoo too, by the way. Her and Melissa both definitely helped me make that decision. but this is a J. Crew X Liberty fabric. I pick these up whenever I find them if I can get them for cheap. I think I paid $5 for this at a thrift store, and it sold for my full price of $26.87. Another bins find, I paid 50 cents for this book, These Happy Golden Years. It's a hardcover from 1953. It was illustrated as well, and I'm just, again, happy that I made a nice profit pretty quickly. This is another book that sold within like 2 days of me listing it, and for a vintage book to sell that fast is pretty amazing, but this is one of the harder to find books by Laura Ingalls Wilder. I mean, there are so many copies of Little Women, very few of the rest of her works, and this is one of those. This is a Nike ACG piece. I honestly thought it was going to sell for a lot more because ACG stands for All Conditions Gear, so this is like higher, more rugged end of a Nike. But it did sell to an international buyer, and because it sold to an international buyer, I did accept an offer of $13.27. Also because I've had this listing for a while. This is a full price sale. I actually picked this up at the bins. I talked about before how I love picking up lucky items at the bins because they're inexpensive and they do sell. They consistently sell for me between $9 to $15 depending on the size and the style. Sold for $12.87 and I paid less than $1 for that. Another bins book find. I was so excited when I found this, and I had hoped that I would have been able to have read it and reviewed it before for my book channel before it sold, but I did not get to it in time. This is a pretty rare dystopian novel, Only Lovers Left Alive, where it's like one of the first books where all the adults die, and it's not that they like pass away from some disease, they just all unalive themselves. They get to a certain age and then they just decide they don't want to exist anymore. And that's what this novel is. It's from 1970. Again, I'm super sad that I didn't get to read this. This sold for $19.87 and I paid 25 cents for this at the bins. This I paid 10 cents for. That Big Book Buyout is a new book. I would not buy this book unless it was brand new. This is actually Melissa, thank you. Melissa, thank you very much. She gifted this to me in one of the times that we went to Diversity. She normally brings me a goodie bag or two of free inventory to list to my Bronco Fund. This was one of those items. This is not an item I would necessarily pick up for myself, but it was free, and I think she only paid like 10 cents for it because she volunteers at a thrift store. But it sold for $8.88, and it sold literally that week I listed it. So it was pretty much like the beginning of summer, someone's looking for a cheap bathing suit, I got them covered. This book is another book that actually sold the day I listed it. This is Eric LaRocca, Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. This is kind of a horror short story collection. It sold for $9.87 and I paid 50 cents for that at the bins. This is an older listing. I had this for over a year and a half. It is something I picked up for Thriftmas the first time I did Thriftmas at the Dav Hampton, and it sold for $11.87. It is like a themed restaurant, kind of like kitschy thing. It's a vase and a boot. I bought it because they sold and it sold, so yay. I picked these up at the bins as a pair of PacSun baggy jeans. They were a size 23, so super tiny size. They were wide leg. Like, this style is very on trend with Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and I picked them up at the bins, which is why I was willing to go ahead and buy them, even though they might not sell for a whole lot and they might take a while to sell because of the fact that they're so small. But they actually sold within 60 days of me listing them, and because I got them at the bins, it was like $1.50 for them. So selling them for $8, I'm not mad at. This is a brand new copy of Fugitive Telemetry by Martha Wells. This is part of her Murderbot series, which if you like Star Trek Next Generation and you like fast, easy to read science fiction, I love this series so very much. I talked about it on my book channel and I'll talk about it here. It is an amazing book series. There are 7 books in the series now. I think there is going to be an 8th one released soon, but each book is episodic. You don't need to read all of them to enjoy them, but it does make it more fun, just like Next Gen, Star Trek Next Gen. But this sold for $14.87, and that's because I had this on my wish list for my book channel and I got multiple copies of it from internet friends and from family. I don't know I kept one copy and the other ones have found other homes. But I did end up selling this one, which I do feel a little bad about, but you know, I only need one copy. And I did find good homes for the other copies, but this one I found a home on eBay, or found the home through eBay. Anyway, it sold for $14.87, and yeah, there we go. This is Ex Officio Buzz Off shirt. The only reason I picked this up is because I got this at Diversity, so I only paid $1 for it. And surprisingly, it sold very quickly. It sold for $15.19. Ex Officio is not necessarily a brand I would pick up, but this Buzz Off line, which is an anti-bug line, obviously, it does okay. It does have a slightly higher sell-through rate than the other ones. I think the insect repellent in the clothing lasts up to 40 washes, but I paid $1 for this. It sold for $15.19, and I'm more than happy with that. Another piece from that same haul from Diversity, so I have $1 into this. This is a Leadberry piece. It sold for my full asking price of $16.87. It was just a basic polo, but for $1 I figured I'd give it a try, and I'm really happy I did because it sold pretty quickly after listing. This, however, did take a little while to sell. This is a brand new journal. I always pick up brand new journal. Well, not always. I almost always pick up brand new journals when I find them at the bins because they do have a tendency to sell well for me. And it's cheap. I paid 25 cents for this and it sold for $11.87, so I made an easy $5 off of something that would have ended up in the landfill, and I'm glad that it found a new home. This is another thank you to Melissa. She gifted this to me for free, so Melissa, thank you very much. She does not like wool. She does not like wool as a fabric, even though I do. So she does put all of it aside for me to list, which is very kind of her. So Melissa, again, thank you. This is a J. Jill piece. Again, I was super surprised when I found this in the pile, but when I saw that it was wool, I understood, because she does prefer to list larger sizes. This sold for my full asking price of $22.87, and again, it was free to me. So Melissa, thank you. Another piece from Diversity. This is a Patagonia piece. It was just a basic size medium activewear piece, and it sold for my full asking price of $12.87. I mean, it did take a little while to sell, but I paid $1 for it, so happy for it to move to a new home. So this is a book from the estate of Daniel A. Bow, who was the leading expert in British maritime history from like the 1600s to the 1900s. And when he passed away in February, most of his most of the books from his personal library ended up at the bins, and I bought a bunch of them to sell because they were valuable, because they're reference books and they're out of print reference books. So this one sold for $9.87. They do have notes all in them from him because he also would review all of these books, not for like a website or something, but like his peers would send him advance copies of their book to write a review about it and to recommend it to other universities as textbooks. Anyway, I have learned way too much about this man from his library, but this sold for $9.87 and I paid 50 cents for it at the bins. Another bins finds, I found all of these at the bins. I paid 50 cents each for them. $5 into this set of books, and they sold for $20. Perfectly happy with that return, and again, all of these vintage books found a new home. Now, you did notice this is one of the few times which I charged for shipping for my books, and that is because this was heavy. These large, heavy lots, that is something I do check before listing them. What is the best way to sell them? Do they sell better with free shipping, or do they sell better if I list them slightly lower but charge shipping? And that was the case for this one. So I'm really happy that these moved, and they actually moved a lot faster than I thought. And another thing, I actually took one of the books out of this series. I listed these 10 books, and these 10 books all went to their new home. But the white thing from this series actually sells better by itself. So that's my own separate listing. That hasn't sold yet, but glad these went to a new home. So this is a viewer sale rosin. Thank you very much. They sent me a very lovely message, and I am so grateful. I think I sent an offer out, or yeah, I think I sent a percentage off offer. I just recently listed this. This is a 90s a 2X Mooncraft Plus piece. And you know, I don't get to find really cool vintage pieces in larger sizes very often. And so when I sent out offers to watchers, she immediately bought this, which is very humbling because Rosin lives in Australia. So they paid for the GSP to ship this to them. So Rosin, I hope it has arrived to you by now. I know it is 2 months later, but you never know with international shipping. I hope you like it. And it is very humbling to have someone all the way across the other side of the world watch my videos, and it is especially humbling that you purchased from me. So thank you so much. I hope you love it, and I really appreciate it. This is a Chico's Travelers piece. I am not picking up Chico's Travelers as much anymore. I used to pick them up and say like, I love picking up Chico's Travelers because they travel into and out of my store. They are no longer doing that. So I am not picking them up anymore unless they are the larger sizes, so like 3, 4, 5. This size 2 did sell a year later. It sold for $11 and I paid $5 for that at a thrift store. This is another new book from that big book buyout I did last year. So I have 10 cents into this book and it sold for my full asking price of $14.87. So a quick $10 off of a very cheap book. I will pick up still Peter Millar pieces. Their Southern Comfort line does still move for me. This was in great shape and was one of the few times I found it without any embroidery on it. And it did sell for my full asking price of $17.87, and you'll notice it is a size small. Most people prefer to pick up larger pieces, and I totally get it. A lot of the sell-through rate for most pieces are better in larger sizes, but I do well with men's small and medium-sized stuff. Women's does move a lot slower, but pretty much all men's moves well for me, so I pick it up. Full price sale, grateful for that. This is Not Your Daughter's jeans. These are skinny jeans. Yes, I sold a pair of skinny jeans for $9.50, and I can guess, you can probably guess why I picked these up. They were green, and they sold for $9.50. I've had them for 2 years. The green got me, but I did end up making a profit on this. I paid $5 for these at the CHKD near my house, so I didn't make a lot of profit, but I still made a profit, and they still ended up not in the landfill. This is another thank you. Again, this is a thank you to Melissa. This is an Under Armour piece. She doesn't sell a whole lot of athleisure. I do. She says she doesn't have luck with the Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour. But I do because I'm more than happy, especially getting it for free, to list in this $10 area, and they sell for me. This is actually an item that sold very quickly after I listed it for $10, and buyer paid for shipping and I paid nothing for it. So Melissa, again, thank you. So this book I sold for my full asking price of $7.87. I paid 10 cents for this because I got this in that big book buyout. I had originally picked this up because I thought it was like all the other ones like this, which was brand new condition. But it was not, and it still sold, and I still made a couple dollars off of it. If I had not had my blinders on because the book buyout was so amazing, I might have left this behind, but I'm so grateful I picked it up and found it a new home and made a profit doing that. This is another viewer sale. Julie, thank you so much. She bought this Duluth trading shirt as soon as I listed it, which I really appreciate it. She sent me an offer of $17. I happily accepted because I knew it was going to a viewer. I am still sad that this was not in my size because I loved this piece. I loved the color. I loved the style. I loved like all the features that were on it. It was a roll tab. It was a long one. So, Julie, I hope you're loving it. I'm a little jealous that you got it in your size and I was not able to get it in my size, but I am so happy it went to a viewer, and I really appreciate your support, Julie. So thank you so much, and I hope you love it. I know it's warm now, but I hope you get more use out of it when it cools off. This is a piece I've had for over 2 years. This is an American Eagle piece. I picked this up at the bins, so I do have, you know, less than $1 into it. I just thought it was cute, and that's why I picked it up. I shouldn't source that way, honestly, and I don't anymore, but yeah, I picked this up because I thought it was cute. I also thought it would fit me. Unfortunately, I am a tall lady and this showed all of the booty cheeks. So that is also why I picked it up. But it did sell for $10 and I paid $1 for this at the bins. Same thing with this. Again, another piece that I hoped would fit me, but unfortunately I am tall, so it did not. I am tall and I have a long torso, so that is double jeopardy when it comes to rompers. But it did sell for $13 and a penny, and I am glad that it moved on to a new home, even though I didn't get to enjoy this. And I think I picked this up at the bins as well, so again, $1 into it. This is a vintage piece, another piece I picked up at the bins. I actually offered this up for sale on Whatnot. Nobody bought it from me on Whatnot, but it did sell. It was it was like a cool piece. I couldn't believe nobody picked it up at the bins because this is very like late 90s, early Y2K. It was like the zigzag chevrons with the big wooden bangle here, like in the necktie, like very 90s Y2K trend. Sold for $18. I paid less than $1 for it at the bins. Looks great on Karen. This is a piece I picked up at the Restore in Williamsburg. I pick up most of my artwork that I sell from the Restore in Williamsburg. They have started to like price their artwork up now, but it used to be like one of the best things I could get there that they didn't mark up. These actually came from Colonial Williamsburg. They were already framed. They had the nice matting on the back. This sold for $14.87 and I paid $2 for this at that Restore, so very happy. And both of these that I picked up sold. I think one of them went to a viewer and this one sold to, I don't know if they're a viewer or not, but they didn't leave me a note, so I hope whoever it is enjoys this and I appreciate the sale. Another item I put up on Whatnot, I picked up at the bin, so I probably have like a quarter into this hat. The brand is Serious, and this sold for my full asking price of $12.87. I love picking up like hats and like small little accessories at the bins because they weigh almost nothing and they all have a tendency to sell for me. Of course, I do look up brands, or it's a style-based pickup because I'll pick up vintage scarves as well if they're in good shape. But happy that this sold for $12.87, and it sold in June, so that's fun. Another book from that big book buyout. This is Graham Greene. I will pick up Graham Greene books if they are not new and do a book bundle because he is considered a classic writer, a classic literary figure, but this sold for $10.94 and I paid 10 cents for this at that book buyout. You guys know how much I love Tahari. This is actually a piece that I wore 1 or 2 times before it sold. It was in the rotating reseller closet for a while until I just didn't want to wear it anymore. But it did sell for $12.64 and I will continue to pick up linen Tahari pieces when I find them, especially when they're cheap, because they do sell for me. This is a brand new Levi's silver tab piece. I thought that this would sell faster. It did not, but it did sell, you know, a year later, which is wild to me. I actually bought this retail arbitrage, so again, I suck at retail arbitrage. I paid $11 for the shirt. It did sell for $21.14. This is not vintage silver tab. This is the re-release of silver tab with 90s and Y2K back in full swing and the baggy loose fit in full swing. Levi's has brought back the silver tab line. It is pretty easy to tell vintage from new. So, and that is actually the last thing I have to share with you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will hopefully see you in the next video. Again, Vendu, thank you so much for sponsoring a part of this video, and if you want to try Vendu for yourself, the link will be down below. I highly recommend it, and I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, bye! Bye. Hero, hero. I wanna be a hero, hero. Oh, the hero.